Inside Boxing's Throwdown. My name is Steve Johnson. My co-host, Aurelio Martinez. Often imitated, but never duplicated. Okay? In this third segment, we're going to talk about something we've been contemplating for the last week, for sure. We're going to talk about a couple of things. First, we're going to start off talking about the WBC radio is at it again. And when I say at it again, heavyweight Alexander Povetkin. Povetkin is again, I cannot believe, this guy's tested twice positive. As for all intents and purposes, he's tested 3 times positive. Okay, and WBC decided this past week that they were going to reinstate him based on his appeal. It's based on saying that, he didn't know that he was taking a banned substance.
They never do.
I was going to say, no one ever knows that they were taking it. But in his case, this is the 3rd time. Okay, and remember the last time affected this fight with Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So when I say WBC is at it again, they have a history, a well-documented history of doing things that are beneficial to them, to their organization, not to the sport. And in the case of Povetkin, it looks like, he's got a non-sanctioned WBC event coming up before the end of the year. But starting in 2018, he's going to be back at it, and he's back in the mix. He and Ortiz, they're in the same boat. They've dodged that bullet a couple of times, but WBC radio and their continued just self-benefit. And the sad part is that green belt is the belt.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. You can do that when you're standing alone at the top. I mean, because obviously, it's the green belt that everybody wants. It's the green belt that everybody looks forward to.
They covet that belt,
and and they're taking full advantage of that.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, you've got the other major sanctioning events, which the IBF, which is a major, and you've got the
WBA and the WBO. All of them said that Povetkin, they had him suspended, and now WBC opens the door for him to come back. The other 3 have no choice but to fall in.
Well, you have to.
They got to fall in line with that.
You have to. But anyway, that's neither here or there. But like I say,
no, it is here or there. That's the point. It is here or there. So give me your opinion on it. I want to hear what you got to say about it.
Well, I just think that you have to stay true to what you do. I mean, there's a lot of boxers in that top TV marquee that test positive for PEDs. I mean, and it's just, what do you do? I mean, you start suspending all of them, then you've got no one to fight.
Well, wait a minute. So no. Everyone gets one chance.
Yeah.
You can say, I didn't know, okay?
Yeah.
The second time, you say, okay, hey, there's no more chances. So the third time, there's no more chances.
I agree with you.
I don't understand how it could be any other way, and it's unfair.
And it doesn't mean they can't fight. They just can't fight for that WBC.
They can't fight fair. That's all it means. You can't fight fair.
But I mean, it doesn't mean you're ending their career, because they can still fight. They just can't fight under the sanctioning of the WBC or any organization that suspends them.
I got you.
So anyway, but I have no tolerance. I have 0. You're giving them 3 chances. I wouldn't even give them that.
I don't think chance.
There's no room for, if you think you need to have a crutch and you need to have something to put in your body to give you an advantage, then get out the game.
Yeah.
I mean, get out the game.
Like I said, I think it's unfair.
And it happens everywhere. Not only boxing. You got Sosa and everyone else that does baseball. You wouldn't think baseball, but yeah, in every sport. For some reason, athletes think they need that to get an advantage, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
Well, that's the sad part, is most athletes do believe that the other athletes that do it gives them an advantage. Yeah. So if you're going to have that, it does. But let's talk about what we've been talking about all week long. You and I both were chomping at the bit, talking about the effect of, and especially in boxing, of father-son combinations. We know some of them have worked. Some of them are starting to work, that are just, branching into it. But on the overall picture, the father-son combinations on the professional level, for some reason seem to fall apart.
they don't work, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's almost impossible for a father and son set up to work in the professionals, and I'm gonna tell you why. Not because fathers are bad trainers or not. It's because of the relationship that comes with being a father and son. A son can growing up. I mean, it just comes back down to even in grade school. You know, you didn't want your mom and dad to pick you up from school because you get embarrassed with all the other kids and stuff like that. It's that relations. In boxing or athletes, it's the same thing. A son can talk back to his dad and argue with his dad in a different way than he would argue with the coach, because it's his dad, and it's hard to put the finger on that, but that's just the way it is. That's the way it is, and more so in the minority growing ups. And when you talk about black fighters, and when you talk about Mexican fighters, and most of your minorities, there's that respect factor that they have for their dads, that they can't have their dad yell at them and discredit them in front of TV and all that stuff. They just can't, and it just has that. It has that adverse effect that it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Okay, so
yeah, you know, I think you can put your finger right on the pulse of that. Like he says, it's just as an amateur, your dad, that's your dad. You listen to everything your dad says. As you get older, and you remember this well because we went through the same thing, especially in your teenage years, you rebel against mom and dad.
You do.
Mom and dad don't tell me what to do. So as you get into the ring war with your dad, you start to tell him, hey, you know, this dude's starting to holler at me. I don't like all that. You know, we look at like Floyd Mayweather. I use those success stories that were success for a minute. You look at Floyd and his dad.
Exactly.
Okay? You look at Roy Jones and his dad.
Sugar Shane.
Okay. Those are the two that come to mind instantly, you know, and you're like, wow, man. And I mean, their parting the ways were ugly. Okay. You know, it's no question that it took a while for them to regain their. I don't know if Roy and his dad ever did reconnect.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a whole different. It's a different relationship, okay, than a coach boxer. It's a mom. I mean, it's a dad-son relationship.
And I think it goes from a kid to a man. Once you go from a kid, when you're a kid, you listen to dad. I'm listening to dad because, like you said, especially in our neighborhood, you go, if dad's going to tell you, hey, this is what you're going to do, and you're going to do it. As you get older, you're like,
as a father, you have to release your kids.
Right.
You have to release your kids when they become adults. Now, most of the boxers have their own family. They got their wife, their kids, they got their own families. They're not your baby no more. You know, even though we want them to be our babies forever, they're not. You got to release them, you know, and you can't just sit there and continue to crack the whip like a father does in the sport of boxing, okay? Because it's hard. We see it in the gyms all the time where a father comes and tells the son, hey, you're doing that wrong, you're doing this wrong. Don't tell me what I'm doing wrong, you know. But they won't tell the coach that because it's the different respect factor, okay? It's just different, so.
No, you know, and like you said, that's not the case with all, but with more, even those Julio Cesar Chavez and Chavez Jr. And you know, the pressure also that is put on a kid and his son. We already mentioned Mike Reed and his dad. You know, we mentioned Alontes Fox and his dad. The pressure that comes with that whole package contributes to it. And like I said, you know, there's a lot of situations where it doesn't affect them in the ring, but it might affect them outside of the ring.
Well, I think the father needs to become a cheerleader, a fan, okay, in boxing. Something like Oscar De La Hoya's dad, okay? His dad always sat in the audience. Okay? Yeah. He didn't want to be in the limelight and get in the corner just because Oscar was a great fighter when he was fighting, okay? So he sat in the audience, and then he would talk to his son behind the scenes when they go home, saying, you could have did better, you could have did this, blah, blah. It was actually perfect, okay? And I think that kind of leads us to, I want to touch a little bit on that leads me into saying why juniors or the sons that come into boxing trying to follow their dad's footsteps, 10 seconds, and we'll extend this, let me just finish what I'm saying, never really fare in the sport because the fathers are still trying to control their whole situation and it's tough because they have the same they have big shoes to fit. Like take Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. that everyone expected him to be in that ring like his father. Okay, and that became everyone saw that didn't happen. That became a failure. Another son was Salvador Sanchez, which is a big icon in the Mexican people. Okay, his son never came through. Jorge Paez, Montemedo Paez, his son never made it into the pro rankings. It's different. See,
Camacho Jr.
Camacho Jr. Even though he's still active, you're walking into the room with your dad's shoes on, whether you like it or not. That's what it is. So you can't break away from that. So you got to find a way how to become your own fighter, become your own style, and it's very demanding on a young fighter, and that's why very seldom they live up to the hype, because it's a tough mental pressure that's on them throughout their career. So
and like you said, that's not to say that it can't work. I'll tell you my own opinion that the only way it's going to work is that if Dad had such the extensive background in boxing that he didn't pick up on his son's career after his son had evolved from the amateurs. And I'm saying that if he's been involved with his son's career from the amateurs on up, they have a chance for it to do.
Yeah.
But these guys that just get on board with their sons after, and they say, oh, everybody starts telling them, and I think that's one of the cases with Chavez Jr. His dad really didn't get on board with him until his own career was almost done. The same thing with, other than Floyd. That's why Floyd and Floyd Jr. are so, I said, you have to give them their due, man. That Mayweather family, they know boxing. They know the boxing game inside and out. There's a big thing.
I think you mentioned Chavez Sr. He was up there in the ring and all that, but he backed off. Okay, but it still didn't work. But he actually had the sense to back off and say, okay. But still, he couldn't let his son take care of his own career. He was still running up to the ring, yelling instructions, getting in the way of the trainers and stuff, and that doesn't work. But real quick, because I know this segment ended, one guy I want everybody to look at that may turn the tables on this, because I like the kid. I was able to see his fight last night. He fought on the big HBO undercard non-televised event, and that's Nigel Benn's son, Connor Ben. Okay, I'm going to keep my eye open, because not given he's 9-0, he might be 10-0 now, but I like the way this kid works in the ring. I really do, and that's what I watch as a trainer. I watch what they do in the ring, and this guy I think really can become successful. And even though when you talk about Connor Ben, the first thing that comes in your mind is Nigel Ben.
Right.
So let's keep our eye on this kid to see if he can break that ice. All right. Okay. Come visit us next week. Next week we'll do it again. We'll recap the weekend's fights. There's some coming up. I don't think they're explosive as this week, but there's some coming up.
Your boy Issei Smith's fighting next weekend.
You bet.
And then Anthony Durrell, he's fighting next weekend. We'll get to see them.
We're good. We'll come
back
on
Fox Sports.
We'll come back and recap all that. So
Okay.
Come back and see us.
All right.
And of course, remember, if you don't catch us on the computer, you can catch us on Roku TV,
Right.
Roku, and you can catch us on ibtv.us. Okay?
Got you.
All right.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Before we go, any questions, concerns? Editor@InsideBoxing.com. Okay?
All right. Man, don't want to leave. I got